But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and vegs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Survive the Spin, F.E. Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, JMels24, Unimento, Iron26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links, as I say, to Patreon are below this video. And with that, I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Times that his own guests crack the shits with him because they see him as trying to mute the topic that's being talked about. They want to keep talking about it. So, yeah, so for example, one time I went on, the host wanted to kick me after 10 seconds and I stayed there for 3 hours purely because the rejection of the host's guests. But the this particular platform is growing and it's a massive money spinner for anyone that hosts it. I could say that if I was on the platform for 3 hours as a guest and got $27, imagine what host is doing if he's doing it for 8 hours on TikTok.
So you got $27 for interacting on his live program?
Yeah. So when you jump on this platform, there's all sorts of trinkets that people send you. And TikTok allow you to change that into currency, or they allow you to use it to give to other people on other platforms. So just me being there for 3 hours on his 8-hour show, there was like 100,000 viewers on his channel watching at any one time.
And then, so the viewers are different than subscribers, right? So I assume it's just like other platforms. He's got subscribers, and then each of his lives have a viewer rating, right?
Yeah, so you don't have to be a subscriber to view. It may be a topic that you search on TikTok and it will just automatically highlight for you. When you scroll, it'll come up. So you can sit there and view, so you can tap and watch live. Tapping watch live costs you nothing. And you can comment and you can use all the resources. That is, if you have credit on TikTok, you can shift your credit. You can give love hearts. So when you give a love heart on TikTok on a live, it's of financial value. Unlike when you do it on, say, any other platform. like let's say like so he has panel. So the panel members are sitting at the side. You can see all their names. And when a panel member makes a comment, people can actually shift credits to them as well if they think that their comment was good. So all the panel members can make money. The hosts makes money. And the guests, if the guests are good, the people watching can shift their credits to the guest. And that's why I think that this platform is taking off enormously. I've only been on it for the last 2 weeks, and I was surprised to scroll and see McToon has just started it the last 3 or 4 days. And I was watching a few of them, and he's his typical self, complete fucking idiot. But what he does is, when someone knows what they're talking about, he'll get his 2 or 3 people that are on his platform to interject, or he'll mute their microphone. But you can physically see the negative comments and that come up when he does that. So he hasn't quite worked out how to use the platform yet. He's using it like he would, say, on a Discord platform or his YouTube platform. Different. So if he's being negative or derogatory to his guests, people watching will actually derate his live view. So you can see he's new to it and he hasn't worked it out.
That's the double-edged sword, I think. And that's why when we do stuff, or Nathan does stuff in the future on platforms of any kind, that it behooves us more and more to be somebody that normies can have at least enough sympathy for and interest in the subject to stay around and defend you. This social credit, all this is doing is teaching us about the social credit score and how all of our interactions are going to be kind of mentally related to a person's score. Trading points. Am I good? Give me a good score. And I'll give you a good score if you give me a good score. That guy was mean to me. I have the power to take away some of his points. That kind of stuff. That works. That's a double-edged sword. So MC Toon is repugnant, and he's only good in his own mind because of other people who are just as demonic as he is, who give him praise. Normal people should find him repugnant, which means normal people are who we need to appeal to and be, appealing, for lack of a better word, to them, in order to be a mirror to Toon. So the best thing that can happen is somebody just nicely going on his platform, getting reamed by him, all the while you're just calmly just saying, well, this is how we measure stuff. And, what's the definition of an elevation angle? Horizontal is horizontal. Vertical is perpendicular to horizontal. That's kind of an axiom. And then to the point where he can't rattle your cage, he gets pissed and tries to kick you off. Then his audience will, hopefully, the normies will take it out on him. And he'll lose control of the show and have to shut down or do whatever, unless he acquiesces. That's our word for the day, acquiesce. um, to their wants and needs. He needs a controlled audience in order to do anything. When he loses control of his audience and they become thinkers on their own or feelers on their own, when they say, dude, just stick around. Hey, Tune, let this guy talk, right? Be that person that gets beat up with a smile on their face, temporarily, in order to show Tune's true colors. And on platforms like this, man, people will hopefully turn the tables automatically on him. Nature will take its course. So I'm excited about that stuff. I'm excited for you, man. If you just stayed around for 3 hours, make $10 an hour just for chatting on some guy's anti-flat earther platform, that's gold. It's a better waste of time than just, doing what else we do.
For anyone that's bored and wants to join in on TikTok live, he's a very charismatic guy. Yeah, it's fun.
Unfortunately, or as it so happens, I've made a conscious effort to avoid TikTok at all costs. And if it's to the point where you can only get to it anonymously, or if you can't get to it anonymously just through a website, then it's just not going to happen. For me personally, it's just too many social sites. I think I've been on Twitter for 10 or 12 years, and I probably only posted to it 10 times in the past 10 years. And none in the past 5 or 8 years. And I'm the better for it.
Hello.
Thought you were sulking in the corner for a little while there, because when you came online this morning, it was audio chaos, and we were making fun of you for being a hypocrite.
My eldest daughter was vacuuming.
That's what it sounded like. So your microphones are picking up the sound quite accurately. I could tell that was a vacuum cleaner, and it was extremely annoying. And we said, Jado and I said, if we had done that, we would have been banned till tomorrow. Welcome back, but banned till tomorrow.
What are you saying? Do as I say, not as I do. Applies here.
It apparently is. Apparently so.
Yes, that is my privilege.
Don't do it again.
Oh, you
Don't do it
cheeky son.
again.
I wasn't recording, so it didn't matter.
We were in the midst of an in-depth conversation that you destroyed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We were learning that there were no alpha cats in Australia.
Alpha cats? What?
Alpha predator cats. There are no natural, like pumas or mountain lions or cougars or bobcats or stuff like that in Australia. If I can believe Jado them.
No, they just have snakes and scorpions and kangaroos.
I know, right? I'm like, there's like every deadly everything there in Australia, and you don't have a freaking puma or a mountain lion or a cougar?
They were all eaten by spiders.
Well, apparently some were bust in. That's what got us talking about predators on the farm. And they were, when circuses back in the day, if you can believe history, back in the day, circuses, when they went out of business, whatever wild animals that they had in their little zoos or shows, they just let loose in the wild. But no one in Australian government or officials, or, you know, what we have is the DNR, Department of National Resources, or game and wildlife people. None of them will admit that they've got lions and cougars or whatever, wild alpha predator cats. So whenever someone says, hey, I've got this predator cat who's shredding my cattle, do something about it. There's like, oh, there's no cats there. You're just making that up. Some figment of your imagination with your cow gutted in your field. So that's what we were talking about. And I thought that's fascinating. Everything else out there will kill you, but you don't have to worry about the damn cats.
Well, jolly good. Pleased to hear it.
You know that there's more camels in Australia than there is in the whole of the Middle East.
I think you've reached your limit now. Only 2 bits of fascinating information are allowed per day. You'll be welcome back tomorrow.
You sound like the guy I was debating on TikTok.
Well, that's just it. You weren't actually debating, were you? Were you trying to keep it cool and just point out measurements?
Now, well, it depends what topic you start with, I guess, because they're not all just they drive the conversation. So, yeah, there is objective topics that you can talk about. But like I said, once you give at least 2 proofs, you're no longer welcome.
Well, again, I think if money is involved for clicks and emotional gifts, I like you, I'm going to give you a flower, and that costs, that nets you 25 cents or something. Once you get that in motion, I think that's going to end up being an equalizer. It'll definitely affect the viral anti-flat earthers and anti-globers too. When you get more and more normies who are trying to look to a platform to actually get information besides vile tunisms. And if I can give money to somebody who I think is winning the debate, that'll flip the script. Which means that if we're going to get on any platforms or participate in any debates or discussions of any type, then it behooves us to not be the dick in the situation and to allow the person who is the dick to become unhinged in front of the normie people.
After the live show, so today we won't have an after show, we'll just do a live show. But afterwards, I'm going to do a bit of book editing. And I'll leave the Hangout open. I'll disconnect from Discord and leave the Hangout open. So if you want to enjoy the process for an hour before the kids go swimming, stay in the Hangout.
Nice.
In my mind, I plan to do it about halfway through, and we are about halfway through, give or take. Yeah, you can hear chapter 6 get edited.
Moving along, I see. Very good.
Yes. Still very quiet in here today.
What time? How long ago did you drop the link?
How long ago did I drop the link? Half an hour ago.
Jeez, I didn't
A bit
freaking
less.
get it.
All right, as long as everybody's warmed up in 20 minutes from now, I'm happy.
Gatto and I got all talked out talking about raising sheep and alpacas and all kinds of stuff. I got on about 6 in the morning into the Discord because we got to get up early to check the barn to see if we got any new lambs. Means I'll probably not be able to do much on the live show. So I'll be checking lambs again about that time.
Sounds exciting.
It is, Neil, especially when you got to pull one. You just got to get up at, like, I go out to the barn at about 11 at night. My wife gets up early and goes out to the barn at 5. I got to go out there about 9, but every 4 or 5 hours, got to go out there and check to make sure that life isn't happening and that life doesn't need help. Hopefully I don't have to help much, but so far I've only had to pull a couple lambs this year. Builds character.
Well, what happens if you don't?
Most of the time, then the nature takes its course and the ewe has a lamb or two and they're fine. Sometimes they're not, and that's when life happens and you missed it.
I see. Because I know it's the same thing with baby. The doctors get up in there and they pull that baby out.
And I don't believe in that, even for sheep, which is why I don't stress it too much. My wife's a little different because it's her project mostly, and so she's a little impatient and wants to make sure everything's okay. So she gets them pulled and gets them latched as soon as possible. But, there could be one going right now, and I'm not stressing and going out there and checking every 10 minutes. It'll either happen or it won't. It is what it is a common phrase here on this farm.
It is what it is. It's a common phrase we've been using lately, right? Earth is measured flat. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's kind of why, as much as I don't want to seem apathetic to my own panel, when yourself and Jardot are discussing the communist structure overs at TikTok, which I thought was very amusing, with your talk about social credit scoring with financial incentives. I'm rolling my eyes back here. No offense to you guys, but not because of that, but because of the apathy that I now feel towards our opponents. I just couldn't care less, right? So it's like, will the audience get it? I stand back and go, look at the absolutely enormous machine that opposes us in the brainwashing of a viewpoint that is based on our position to begin with. So to brainwash people into belief of a sphere requires money and effort and time, and the self-perpetuation argument notwithstanding, right? That is to say, your guy who's making a movie will put a globe in there because he's a baller from birth. It's self-sustaining. So you don't need some overarching power to make people do this. They'll do it of their own volition to defend the belief that they're given from the start of the school system. Now, when I look at that, I stand back from it, just go, oh, this is frivolous. It's not, maybe that's the wrong, fruitless. It's a fruitless endeavour to try and bash on that wall, which is what I see it as. So you go, okay, so what's the point? I mean, other than earning $30, I did hear that bit and go, $30. Because I'm poor, right? So, but beyond that, I just go, I don't care if the audience gets it, because I realise that it's because of introspection. I don't really make any difference here, do I? And then I look at the audience that I'm trying to convince and go, you don't make any difference either. So what difference does it make if I try and make you appreciate how Earth is dealt with, regardless of our discussion on the matter? It seems like a completely pointless endeavour. Now, don't get me wrong. As a YouTuber, expressing this fact has a use. Therein lies the contradiction, I guess. But it has a use because I can communicate that to my audience, right? I can say to them, it's a fruitless endeavour, right? I knew this was the case a year ago when I was telling people that they shouldn't, maybe even 5 years ago when I'm telling people, or maybe 8 years ago when I'm telling people, don't be a flat earth evangelist. What's the point? What are you trying to achieve? What do you get? Do you get a little prize if you convert next, man? And beyond the self-indulgency of wanting there to be a consensus based on your belief, there's no point. So you go, well, if it's not based on wanting a consensus for a belief, well, I haven't got a belief in this anymore. I might have done it at some stage. It's hard to put my finger on it, really, because it's the factual reality in both instances held in cognitive dissonance by me. So when you go, okay, let's have a look internally about whether or not I actually appreciate what's going on here. And when I do, I go, nothing changed when I came to the subject, belief or otherwise. And therefore, me trying to convert next man in the face of endless propaganda towards this information. I think that the foundations of the wall, metaphorically speaking, that I'm bashing against, are not sound. That is to say, they're based on flat earth measurements. So therefore, you can hardly describe it as a sound metaphorical foundation for ball-shaped earth if the foundation is actually flat. And it is, right? So you go, well, inevitably, the wall is not a wall, it's a facade. I was writing about this in chapter 5.5 about wakey wakey, actually. I was talking about how you have the need to insert literal wankers into the flat earth community so that they can be the representatives of the subject matter, making it a subject matter with representatives, individuals that you can talk about. Done. Jobs are good and immediately. Immediately you've taken it away from the papier-mâché globe that you can poke your finger through and see through to the other side, someone else staring through. And by contrast, the absolutely flat foundations that the perception of that papier-mâché globe was created with. The flat earth measurements that were used to create the spherical geometry through the angles you measured flat. Well, once you understand all those things, you go, okay, there's, for whatever reason, a self-sustaining, let's call it a requirement for ball faith. I can't put my finger on what the purpose of that is either. But nevertheless, it's there and it keeps people scared, and many instances of it are used and exploited to make people scared. So you go, that could be the reason, I guess. But regardless, you go, that it cannot sustain itself forever. It's built on flat earth foundations. So therefore, by my reckoning, I don't have to do anything, right? If you compare it to what Dave Weiss wants, this time next year, everyone will be flat earthers. Well, he was right. Because as it transpires, everybody who's ever utilised Earth for measurement purposes was dealing with it flat anyway. So the recognition by those who don't measure Earth is inconsequential. The belief that is potentially being used simply to keep people under control, let's just say, just to give it a justification or reason at all, that won't sustain itself forever, because eventually people will see through that particular piece of propaganda, but then they'll be on to the next to keep you under control. So from that perspective, it's kind of inconsequential if we dismantle heliocentrism, because something else will take its place. So you go, so other than us going, oh, aren't I wonderful, I knew something you didn't because you were brought up in the same school system as me that taught you were on a ball, there's nothing really to achieve with next man. And the people who are consequentially describing Earth, that's measuring it in any capacity, they're being paid to do it, and do it flat they will and can only. So therefore, what's to worry about? Beyond me having this discussion now with you as friends or my audience who pay me, you're like, well, what's the purpose for proactively going out and trying to deal with next man? It's like most of the time when you do that, you look at who next man is and go, I don't like you. Your abhorrent behaviour makes me want to distance myself from you, not convert you to my way of thinking. I don't want you anywhere near me. Why would I want you thinking the way I think? Go over there and think like you do anyway, away from me. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's the way I've been feeling lately too. That's why, you go to these other servers to try and get in, and I really don't even care. I'm happy just discussing the matter with you guys every day, and that's it.
Yeah. It's like when you come to... I've tried to keep this away from the live shows by keeping them focused about the subject of flat Earth. But when you go to some of these other forums and you realise that they want to post lemon memes and talk about girls, you're like, what normal stuff that people would do in a bar? even if it's a sports bar. Not everyone's watching the cricket. No, they're not, are they? They're doing their own thing, but they've been brought together by their love of sports. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone in the bar likes cricket. So, therefore, this bar, as I've often compared Flat Earth Debate and the groups and the, Discord server and the Hangout and whatever it was at whatever period, they're comparable to a bar. And you go, okay, well, this bar does have Flat Earth Debate written over the top of the door. But so what? So does you have to fight lions in the Red Lion? You don't, do you? Right? So therefore, like the people who behave about us being sexy, transgender or whatever I got labelled, I've forgotten now, sexy femboy, that was it. It's like, so you want to poke fun at others just while you're in this forum. That's their shtick. You're like, yeah, having a laugh at other people's expense is their shtick. In the geography forum, it says geography above the door. Surely they'd just be talking about geography. No, it's not how it works societally, does it? So while this bar runs under the mutual understanding that everybody in it appreciates what Earth is, that's what brings us together as friends, which is quaint. But if somebody came in now, they'd be like, the last 35 sentences out of your mouth had nothing to do with Flat Earth. You talked about social structures, comparatively being in a bar by metaphor. None of this was about Flat Earth. You're like, yeah, but everybody in the bar understood that there's an underlying foundation to why we are here, that we do, at some stage, discuss the topic of the nature of Earth, normally because someone else has strolled in the bar while we're all with our feet up playing cards, not talking about Flat Earth. Then someone comes in and goes, are you all idiots? You're like, those are fighting words. Now let's smash bar stools over your frickin' head. Or, worry not about the guy that strolled into the bar that doesn't appreciate as most of the bar at that point, because he's there. Appreciate. It's not that big a deal. When he leaves, if he's unruly or rude, you're like, well, why would I want to interact with this person at all? You're like, you've come in the bar, you're going to get that look from everyone. Once you're rude, right? That look of hostility where that person suddenly doesn't feel comfortable in the bar. You're like, well, I want everyone to be comfortable in the bar, but you don't have that privilege as a bar owner. You don't get to make everybody comfortable, even if you really try. So you're like, okay, well, sometimes you have to accept your own fate and appreciate that the wall that we're bashing is built on the Flat Earth foundations that we're trying to expose to people. But we don't need everyone to bash on the wall. It will collapse of its own accord. It's a fabrication. It's an imagination. It's a fantasy. And the fantasy has mathematics, rules and regs that are built on the foundation that we try and bestow upon people by force, often unsuccessfully. So you go, well, which aspects can simplify our lives? Well, the aspect of force, the aspect of trying to force people who have a deep-seated belief in something other than the foundations. Now, you can try, when appropriate, if necessary, to point out that the foundations of their belief are flat. But even then you think, well, that's quite antagonistic. They didn't need to know it. They weren't about to jump on an aircraft. They weren't about to build a building, were they? So they didn't need their day ruining. And I've kind of always had this attitude. Now I've just got a greater justification for doing it. Because I can point out that while Jin thinks it's his due diligence to do this, I don't agree. It's not your due diligence to ruin people's day when their belief is inconsequential to you and to the way that the world is dealt with, even though that's the subject matter. The way the world's dealt with is just as it is what it is. But you knowing that it's contrary to the belief system you were peddled in school isn't something you necessarily have to force down someone's throat when their day will not be altered. Their question stands as much as we've wanted to ignore it. What difference does this make to me? Possibly not a lot. So why should I make you lose sleep about it if you brace against it because it's contrary to the belief that you're currently holding?
Yeah, but Nathan, you're not getting it, are you? What about the man-made snow and all of these other things that are going on? This all stems from all of this, It's a big conspiracy and everybody's lying.
But I never concern myself. For 10 years I've managed to avoid concern about this, right? So why did I make my way to this subject? Well, because I looked at psychopathy and subliminal messaging and then got Flat Earth delivered to me. They're like, you're definitely a conspiratard. Have some of this, right? So the next thing you know, I've got Matt Powerland fed to me via the algorithm, right? It knew who it wanted to offer up this material to, and it offered it up to them in abundance. Hippies and conspiratards and religious fundies and Bible thumpers. That's what it offered it to. Everybody in the group's the same. Now, you're all hearing this going, well, I'm only one of those things. How dare you? You know what I mean? Well, when you look at average normie, when you do get down to the most average of average normie, he does ask that question, what difference does it make to me? And then he even has a justification. I've still got to pay my bills, right? Still got to tax the car. You know what I mean? And you're like, we weren't listening, were we? Our need and rush to sniff our own farts meant that we weren't really listening to what people were saying to us. The reasonable ones, the ones who weren't rude, because that's not rude. When someone asks that kind of question, you go, that's what you should do in these circumstances. Ask questions. What difference does it make to me should be the first thing. Because that is the ultimate question. I learnt this in sales. It was phrased differently. The question was phrased as, what's in it for me? When you tell somebody you should buy the Sony over this Matsui TV, first thing the question that the customer says to themselves, what's in it for me? The one's double the price, what, having half as much money? No thanks, right? You've got to convince them that what's in it for them is wonderful things. And that's really where we should be at. If you're trying to convince somebody that this should be important to them, you've got to give them a good reason for it to be important to them. And most of the time, right, I find the reasons people suggest they should be converting next man lacking, if not woeful, if not totally self-centered and selfish, right at the other end of the extreme. So you go, I don't know if I like the kind of person that wants to do that. I've always had this underlying hatred for flat earthers, and it's because they're genuinely self-serving, self-centered, ignorant a lot of the time people who are only out to sniff their own farts by converting next man, by telling him how wrong he is. You know, like, we shouldn't bow down to the societal need to not be right, but to show next man how he's wrong. You know what I mean? That's why we fell into this trap of Earth's not a ball, because proving that you, with your belief that you hold, is wrong, is held above, well, I'm just correct. And when you are just correct, your concern about telling next man is wrong diminishes greatly.
Yeah, well, on Jin's side, he feels that I must tell them because they may want to look into other lies that the government has told them. You know, it's an enlightening, you know?
Then I get back to Average Joe. Average Joe knows the news is full of shit, doesn't he? I've spoken to plenty of Average Joes. Yeah, that's a load of old nonsense. You don't believe everything you see on the news would be a common, not uncommon, viewpoint about the news. Don't believe everything you read in the papers. It's a common saying and has been for 50 years, right? People understand what propaganda is. Therefore, Average Joe is sceptical. So when you say, I'll make him sceptical, really? You think suddenly he's going to go, I 100% trusted Trump in everything he did, and now I have to question because of flat... No, you're delusional if you have that attitude, in my opinion. But you've just not spoken to enough normal people. Normal being Average Joe on the street, right? The general public, the great unwashed. That's who I see as Average Joe. But this is the point of it, right? Offering my audience apathy is the best value at the moment I perceive I can offer my audience. I hope there's a stunned silence as opposed to people just doing other things while I'm rounding out this point just before we go live. There should be a stunned silence at the end of this as you introspectively contemplate how it affects you, the what's in it for me question. Because we're selfish creatures, right? We're always obsessed with how it affects us. So I don't believe for 1 second the altruistic suggestions of Jin when he's like, but it'll help him see through the lies. You're like, no, you just get to sniff your own farts for a few minutes. Let's not bullshit about what this is. Validation boy, man. It was really early on when he was like, why do you want to tell people? It's like, if you know, you know. And you can kind of smugly grin to yourself about that fact. You don't need to lord it over people. If you know, you know. And he was
I've been
right.
thinking about that too. He was 100% correct.
Yeah, even a stop clock and all that. No, as much as I'm demeaning Validation Boy, he did have some good points in that regard. And suggesting that not telling people might be a better option. At the time, I was like, what are you, nuts? But he was pointing it out that he was saying the same thing I am when I say people who sniff their own farts. It's like, you're only doing this so you can lord over your special knowledge. It's like, look how special I am. I know something you didn't. Oh, and it antagonises you greatly and triggers you greatly. There are people out there who absolutely thrive on that. Oh, right, I've told you something you thought to be true, and now you're enraged and want to argue with me. Wonderful. I'm not that guy, right? I despise that. I really dislike it. And I get that people will be hearing this thinking, is that Jin you're talking about? Yes, I am. He's like Spurs used to be. Flat Earth evangelist.
Yeah, Jin hasn't been around for a while now.
I'm sure he has. He's just a dude with stuff going on, I'm sure.
I haven't seen him in any other servers. I pop in, check to see the status, where Jin is at. I don't know if we offended him in any way, but I haven't seen him in any other servers.
Fair enough.
How are you?
Good morning.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening, all.
Good afternoon. Maybe we're going to ask the audience, once we've got it going a little bit in the live stream, whether or not they agree with the sentiment from the pre-show. What we were discussing was whether or not it is advantageous to go out as a flat earth evangelist, telling next man how he's got it wrong about the ball, as some people don't want to let go of that particular methodology, or moreover pointing out how, if you're going to bring the ball up at all, their ball faith is based on a foundation of flat earth measurements, or better still, not saying anything, or the fourth option of telling them how Earth is measured flat. Is it actually of any benefit to you, the one asking yourself that question, to even assess it, let alone come up with one of the four answers? But in any event, what we're asking ourselves in the pre-show is it of benefit? What's in it for me, being a flat Earth evangelist? So let us know from the chat. Maybe I'll come up with a way of putting that into a straw poll of some description that has an A-B answer, as they like to offer you on YouTube's straw poll system. That's a lot of S's. So yeah, I'll perhaps come up with a question. We'll see how we get on. But maybe let me know if you are already watching live, maybe a limited audience of you. Do you think it's of benefit for us, beyond us sat around the fire in this metaphorical bar we call Flat Earth Debate, to go out proactively telling people? What benefit does it serve you if you are to do that? It started off with a discussion about the TikTok Live platform, which is offering social credits translatable into cash prizes. If you're amiable. I don't think I'd do well financially on TikTok Live. I don't think I'm that amiable. I think I'm actually quite objectionable to most people. That's just me. Let me know in the chat.
If there were sane people talking about sane things, I would say, yeah, let's share the info. But you got people posting stuff in Discord with snow. Hop, you can't prove to me that the snow is man-made, so stop it.
I watched a guy make a snow furnace. So he pokes a little hole. No, he starts with a stick and he wraps like a load of snow around the stick and then pulls the stick out. So he's got a long chamber vertically. And then he uses the stick to bodge a hole in the side of it, so we can make a little fire, and then it'll naturally act like a chimney, right? Pull the air through, making it nice and hot for him to make a brew on. And showing this furnace with all the burnt black snow insulating the heat. So it's like not only is it not melting, it's acting as quite a good insulator. So he can proper, a couple of twigs, little lattice work, and a cup of presumably hot tea on it for his brew, right? And you're like, that's cool. So snow acts in some bizarre ways. Water does some weird stuff when it reaches a certain temperature and becomes hard. So I agree,
but you can't just say man made it. I mean, come on now. Let's stop being ridiculous. We sound like a bunch of nutters. You don't know.
I mean, you can make snow. I mean, I've been to the snow dome. I used to like snowboarding and skiing and all that sort of stuff. So, I don't know, up until relatively recently, maybe in the last 5 years, my sister and I and her girl would go to the dry courses as well. Like, it's not even snow. You can make it behave
Yeah, they
like
can
it.
create snow that's already there and keep it so you can continue to ski. I understand that. But you're talking about making it snow over a whole freaking state or a whole town. Give me a break. And if they can, show me how they're doing it. Show me how you know that it's man-made.
God of snow. Right, if you can convince man that you control things like the weather, like you have full control, then the person who's got that control, or the group, let's call them, of people who have that control, are worthy of being bowed down to like gods. Therefore, there is an incentive to create an impression that there are those out there who essentially control everything. The hidden hand, they, as they are often referred to, they are controlling the weather. Oh, well, they are as gods then. Now, like the consequences we are told if we are, yesterday, this is appreciating how flat Earth is, cats and dogs living together, pure pandemonium. Chaos would ensue. No, it won't. You finding out has absolutely no bearing on how Earth will be dealt with as a flat plane. Because you don't matter in that regard. You're not building or flying or sailing or charting anything. So who cares if you find out it's flat? Meanwhile, it's beneficial in terms of keeping you fear-bombed to believe in the current rhetoric, whatever it may be, and don't disbelieve the current rhetoric, whatever it may be. Or bad things will definitely happen, right? No, they won't. But you can believe that, you know, if you go through life in a perpetual state of fear because somebody's telling you that terrible things will happen. And one of those, elaborated out, is the control of the weather. If I just say it's bullshit, like, if people could actually control the weather, somebody would have monetized it. Like, you want it to rain over your patch on these particular days so you can go out with your combine harvester and provide something that the entire world requires, that's food, in a more efficient manner. Well, then we can give you that for $1 price tag. They'd have monetized it immediately. Whereas this notion that, oh, there's this idea peddled through conspiratardia that there's a power that should not be, whoever, let's say that they're completely unnamed, because they are, and they control the weather like Zeus. There's a reason I drop things like this into the discussion. Zeus, people said in the chat. Nobody believes in Zeus. Really? All right. So who exactly is it that's controlling the weather? Yeah, to you, these people are fear-worthy, like the gods, and we can only help the general public realise how terrifying the powers that should not be are. Like, do you not realise how you are essentially helping those who would have you be in belief that there's an overarching power they have, in this case over the weather? It's like, no. Taking credit for all that occurs, bad and good, has its benefits, because then you become like a god, like Zeus. Oh yeah, the lightning came down because they controlled it. They? Who are they? Well, the gods of the weather. I mean, they're like men.
It reminds me of Dell from Beyond the Imaginary Curve a few years ago. He had the same sentiment where he complained that the Scottish weather was due to the government manipulating the weather and controlling it, rather than just being that far away from the equator.
Yep, that's it. There you go. There you have it.
Don't blame the powers that should not be living in the shitty part of town. You just live in the shitty part of town. Just accept your fate. Me, I live in the affluent part of town, in a very shitty little space, and I accept my lot in life too, with both my mortgages. My point being, I'm not going to blame my circumstances on some external force beyond my control. It's pathetic. It's gamma behaviour, isn't it? Oh, it's not my fault. It's their fault. They're controlling. Oh, shut up.
Exactly.
That
of
being
whiners.
said,
Good.
that being said, there is money to be made in rainmaking services. There's
What, like watering?
private,
You mean watering plants? We call it
private
watering.
rainmaking services. Commercial seeding are increasingly used by farmers, governments, and resorts to mitigate drought and increase water supply. Startups like Rainmaker, using $50 an hour drones, and established firms use AI, radar, and chemical dispersal to boost precipitation. Methods include drone-based seeding, aircraft-based seeding, and ground-based ionizers. So there is money to be made. And whether it actually works or not, I assume farmers who want to have rain pay the money and they figure out if it does or not.
Of course it works. It's got electrolytes. It's got what plants need.
Yeah. Ionization. And interestingly, there's a side link called Ionization is completely environmentally friendly. And they've got a beautiful picture of how or a little illustration of how ionizing the ground and the sky happens on a flat Earth. So, anyhow, it is done. So there is money to be made, and there are people making money on it. As far as the conspiracy part, I absolutely agree that whoever gives the impression that they actually control weather without our control. Farmers, I can pay $50 an hour for a drone and someone will hopefully make it rain close to my farms. All right. But if someone can give the impression that you have no say in what happens and they do control the weather, just giving the impression is what does control us, if we allow it to.
Right. I think Axiom Addict's answering my question from earlier. He says, Flat Earth to me seems like a subject that has to be sought rather than preached. What, are you a frickin' philosopher? I mean, thank you for your comment, Axiom Addict. Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I agree. It's like, if you wait in the bar for somebody to actually ask you about your subject matter expertise, then that's flattering. Whereas if you go around jumping on top of the bar, telling everyone how Earth's flat, there's a good chance that people will turn their back on you and think you're a weirdo, regardless of how correct you might be.
The key is to figure out how to turn the subject into a cool bar trick where you end up getting free drinks. It's like making a sure bet. And I'll bet you this.
I don't like that either.
If you tell me the Earth's flat, or give me a free beer, or something like that.
I don't know. I don't like gambling either. It's like, only if it's consequential, right? There's no gamble when somebody's trained how to fly in level flight. There's no gamble when they chart the world flat from sea level. They're not gambling. They want to create stability. These are the good people of the geography subject. They're not out to gamble with anyone's lives. They're not out to gamble with anybody's money or building or whatever it is they're producing, like actual Earth-based results, things that you can see, tangible stuff. Even if it's tangible in the moving of goods and services or tangible in terms of the movement of you as an individual, there's a lack of risk that needs to be assessed carefully. You know, when we talk about people like the NTSB, you're like, we're kind of not seeing the wood for the trees. The reason the NTSB exists is to make sure that level flight is achieved. That's it. That's their purpose. When it isn't, they need to get involved, right? That's their raison d'etre. Why aren't they in level flight?
While artificial snow can blanket a ski resort or a small area, making it snow over a vast entire city is not particularly or economically feasible with current technology.
Even then, it leaves the open door for your brain to say, so the future's set for us to be able to do it then? It's always
it's just not current.
Just not currently possible technology. Yeah, but they're holding back the technology. You're not going to get told about the technology that Zeus has got.
There's no way around it. A conspiratard will always be a conspiratard. They'll find something in that sentence. Yep.
I've got pictures, Neil. What's your problem?
So do I. I got a whole Discord now thanks to Harp. Harp, stop sending me pictures, you maniac.
If Darth ever does do another video, it'll be this scenario where we're arguing about whether or not there's chemtrails and full snow, and there'll be like one screaming maniac going, I've got pictures, and he put a picture up, and it's of a snowman, like with twig arms and a carrot for a nose. Oh, look at the picture! It's man-made, I tell you. We're having a laugh here. We're all friends.
Yeah, we are. I think they take it serious, though.
Yeah, life's too short, though, isn't it?
Yeah, gotta lighten up.
I don't want to go to the other extreme either by saying, you know, we should keep this a secret, we shouldn't be telling people. I don't want to go to that extreme either. It's like, you know, you kind of want to strike that balance of not intentionally letting the person who asks the question see you roll your eyes, but also, you know, not telling them when you overtly do in a way that makes you seem like you're self-important or know something or can be perceived to be better than they for knowing this in advance of them. Like, that's kind of where I'm going with the whole it's not that serious thing. You don't want the person you're telling this to feel like, all right, so you're saying I'm dumb because I didn't get this. No, it wasn't ever really that big a deal. We were just taught a religion of the sky in science class, and that isn't, you know, you're bad. Everybody suffered the same fate in that regard, but when it came to the actual dealing of Earth as a flat plane, it just was so that everyone could stay alive. But, you know, you're not going to be out flying a plane, so it don't really matter. Who cares? It's not going to make any difference to you. You'll still have to pay the bills tomorrow. You'll still have to tax the car. Speaking of taxing cars, I found out a couple of days ago, maybe 3 days ago, that our crap box that we run around in that's about 23 years old, 24 years old, is going to be taxed to the absolute hilt by our government because they presumably want to stimulate car sales. So some perfectly reasonable crap box that's our crap box that we were keeping on the road because it was cheap is now going to be taxed at like 750 quid for a year. You're like, what an outrage. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a cheap car. But you want us to scrap it and have a huge amount of debt on some expensive car that we can't afford. So you're going to, if we don't, you'll tax us for it. Very irritating. It's like the same amount to tax a freaking Lamborghini as it will be to tax our 2003 shitbox Audi. You're like, what? What gives? It's not a Lamborghini. I mean, I was telling myself that for 20 years, but it weren't. Now it's going to be taxed like it is a Lamborghini, though.
It reminds me, I heard the other day somebody said the BBC license fees going up, and the hike has been negotiated and agreed. And I thought, well, who with? I wasn't consolidated about this, and I'm the one paying for it.
It's been done internally between the BBC and the government, who are not in any way influential over the BBC. Just a tax for the British Broadcasting Company Corporation. I forget which one it is. But they're just stealth taxing people who watch TV. It's like, yeah, you've got Sky and Netflix. Well, you need to pay us as well. Why? Well, because you watch our channels on those. Well, can I turn your channels off? No, of course not. What if I don't watch them? That don't matter either. Give us your money. Me, I just went, okay, how do I resolve this problem so I don't have to pay? I've never been able to pay the TV license. I've never been rich enough to. So it's like, well, how do you get around not paying it? You don't watch TV. It's really easy. And it's simultaneous and an absolute godsend. It's a blessing to not pay it and not have TV to watch. Just don't watch it. And then you've got far more time on your hands to do all sorts of different things. If I had have had a TV license, I probably wouldn't have homeschooled because I chewed up all my time watching TV. The absence of TV means that there's enough time to actually spend and dedicate with watching kids grow, which is the best bit of life, right? So
Not really,
there for them.
Nathan. There's really nothing on TV anyway, so you wouldn't be wasting your time.
Yeah, but you still have
There's
it, right?
literally
You
nothing
just
on.
wasted an entire weekend watching the Super Bowl, did you not?
There's thousands of channels, Neil.
Yeah, I know, but the Super Bowl's that's an event, sporting event, which I do watch sports, but as far as things being on, nothing really is on.
Sports is on. Sports is no different. What do you think it all spans from? Go back in history and look at what they were keeping people under control and docile with. Well, it was sports. Currently got
Here we go, conspiracy theorists now. Here we go, the Romans
As in,
and gladiators.
Are we going on to bread and circuses now?
Exactly. These things aren't like made up by me. They're just. I've got pictures, Neil. Go to Rome. I've got pictures.
Keep the populace occupied with food and entertainment.
Yes.
Now you got Sisi started. Well done.
I don't know, man. A couple hundred years ago, some men with mustaches agreed to kick a ball around a field, and now that's a part of control structure. I don't know. It's a bit of a far stretch for me.
I agree, but it keeps you entertained, doesn't it? Keeps you occupied, keeps you busy. And then you're not concerning yourself with other things because your time's preoccupied with sports on the telly. But it is just, I used to get that a lot when I would tell people, like, did you watch this on the news? I'm like, I've no idea. I don't watch the news. They're like, all right, well, yeah, you do. Everyone watches the news. It's in between the programmes. I'm like, I don't have a telly. Like, you don't have a telly? And they're like, well, I don't watch any telly. There's nothing on except for the sports and the soap operas that my wife watches and the news. You're like, well, so you watch telly then? Plenty of it by the sounds of things.
They look at us, Nathan, like the nutters. You don't have a telly?
Yeah, do you remember when it was in Friends and they says they haven't got a television? He's like, well, what does all your furniture point at?
The house set up based on where your television is.
I like my lounge setup. We've got swivel chairs, so we can all point to each other, but we've got one less than people. So we've got 3 swivel chairs, but there's 4 people here. So one of you's looked out today.
You think you're not watching TV when you've got YouTube. That's a joke.
No, you're right. I mean, I'm watching TV. That is the modern equivalent, isn't it? If I'm watching... my equivalent to telly is doom scrolling, I'll be honest. Which is to say I'll sit and flick through endless clips from the sports and from the whatever, the movies mostly. Or it's some crap that somebody's got with their mobile phone in vertical orientation. Waffling on about some bullshit that they haven't got a clue about probably most of the time. But yeah, brain rot.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, the thing is with YouTube, go ahead.
No, I was waiting for you and you didn't twice. Go ahead.
Appreciate it, Nathan. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, the thing is with YouTube, then you can learn how the earth is flat and how to actually do productive things and not just rot your brain with fear porn.
See, I completely disagree. When you scroll through YouTube to find out that Earth is flat, you're being propagandized against anti-flat Earth rhetoric with bull propaganda from numpties telling you how wrong someone else is. It's back to what I said at the beginning of the pre-show. Why this is the way of the world, I don't know, but I know it is the way of the world. Nobody's interested in actually demonstrating that they're right in a debate. It's demonstrating that your opponent's wrong because they think that by default will make them right. I don't have to be right. I just have to show you're wrong. So I don't have to show that Earth's flat. I just have to show how your belief in a ball isn't correct. At the moment, there's a very alien demeanour amongst us here because we're doing something very different. Or at least I am. I feel like I am. When I say, I'm not telling you you're wrong by describing how flat Earth must be measured to create your ball face. That is not me telling you you are wrong. Now, it's happened 2 or 3 times when we've been in worldwide debates, right? People are so pre-wired to how this discussion should unfold that when they come up against the rock and the hard place, essentially, the requirement for flat Earth measurements to create their ball face, they hear me saying, you're not on a ball, when I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the ball gets created from these here flat Earth measurements. You might have made some of those measurements yourself, my friend. And they go, your kid should be taken away. That's the reaction. I was explaining this to my mother on the phone yesterday. She's like, how's it going? And I'm like, good, in a way, because my rhetoric has become significantly stronger than it's ever been, having done this for 10 or 11 years. She went, all right, and that's translating into financial riches, is it? She didn't say that, but I'm summarising. And I said, no, quite the contrary. The more I put a position up that is irrefutable and you cannot argue with, the more I get called a child abuser. Do I really? I'm like, yeah. She said, well, give me an example. I said, okay, point south. She did. I went, now tell me that that's anything other than south. And she's like, looked at me with a funny look. And I'm like, exactly. You're not going to argue with me when I point south, a fundamental directionality that we all utilise every single day in some capacity. You're never going to argue with that, are you? She was like, no. She's like, Nathan's a child abuser. So like, did you get the point? Yeah? That's what it has to be for those who cannot brace against how we currently, if you want to phrase it this way, argue this point. Like, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not telling you you're wrong. In fact, I'm telling you how my position is fundamental to your position. Without a flat earth, you can't create a ball to believe in it. Unless you've got a horizontal planar surface to level your tool to, you can't measure the angles to pretend that the protractor, that's got it, is the surface that you're standing on. It isn't. You know, you're utilising a surface to create an angle with, but pretending that the angle curve of the protractor is the ground is absurd when you appreciate that the after the fact assertion that it is the ground requires you to draw out tangent planes and then put those angles measured from planes that you imagined that aren't the surface to be inside a ball earth that you're no longer standing on. These are complex extrapolations derived from flat earth measurements. At no point during this explanation have I told anybody at all that they are wrong. I'm just pointing out the foundations of a globe faith, and they are a flat earth measurement and prerequisite. But the more I do that, the more I'm accused of being a bad person. It's an interesting arrangement. It's an interesting cause and effect relationship. The effect is I get called a child abuser. The cause is me pointing out how Earth is naturally measured in all instances by everyone for all circumstances, including but not limited to your stupid ball faith.
Did you tell your mother point south?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So, similar thing happened to me yesterday. My son went off on one of his things at the dinner table, how me and my wife just believe everything was told by the church, or however he phrased it. I said, you're going to point that finger at me when you think you're living on a globe? So I went back and forth, and it just happened to be a plate, an empty plate with a fork dead center of the plate. And I said, okay, Jacob, here's a compass. Point south to me. Point north, point east, point west. Go ahead. Show me. So I took the fork and I said, I stood it up. I said, is that north? He didn't know what to say after that. I said, you can't get around it. So stop throwing this nonsense at me that we believe consensus or whatever the church says or whatever, however he phrased it. So I flipped it on him and I had enough of it. Here's a compass, now point north to me. And you can't refute that.
Right. Do it. I mean, if this is something that you do come to the show for, and I, in my mind, feel like I'm doing a disservice to those audience members who financially support me, they give me money via PayPal and Patreon and all those things I ask people to do at the beginning of the show. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm giving out this apathetic attitude towards even telling anybody. It's like, well, what's in it for me? But to give back to those people that I feel like I'm potentially wronging, try it. Do that with next man. Go point south for me. Just do it. Rather than arguing with them about how non-heliocentric an orbital motion is, or whistling past a flat Earth elevation angle to describe close or far stars, just ask the person, like Neil just described, just go point south for me. See how quickly the discussion comes to a complete close. Like with the Uruguay guy, right? It's like, I went out and looked at this sun doing X whilst pointing south. You go, what's south? Point south for me. And know how flat Earth is. Because it's a directionality that's two-dimensional. You can't get around it. And it's not a mantra. It's a principle in directionality that ends all discussion in this regard. South? What, that way? Flat? Yeah, Earth's flat. It ain't complicated though, is it? Everyone knows how to use a compass.
DC, you got your hand up?
Yeah. Wow. Back to the previous part, but yeah, I'm not denying that the information is flooded and the internet's flooded with feast and nonsense. But there's still the truth that if I'm watching and receiving how an approach plate is done by the FAA and how aviation is done and how it's measuring and utilizing our flat Earth, that's reality.
I can see that on TV too.
Well, like, but from the perspective of someone like Jim, when he says, yeah, but that person watching how a flight path descent is plotted by a pilot and how unequivocally flat Earth must be to calculate that descent, then everyone appreciates Earth's flat? No. It's incongruent with the faith they were taught in the science class, regardless of how true and correct the descent towards sea level is when calculated with trig. Yes, it's a flat Earth prerequisite. Yes, it's obvious and observable to anyone who's listening. But if we went into a forum that was full of pilots describing how their date went that night, we'd end up getting called sexy femboy for that sort of thing. By the pilots.
Or Epstein is God nonsense.
See the after show from about 2 days ago. I think it was Monday's after show. So what would that be? What number are we on today? 248 what? 2487. So it'd be 2484. Go back and check out 2484 when we went into one of the geography forums and got relabeled in their server. Epstein's the best and sexy femboy and all these derogatory names against LGBTQ+.
Hold on, Epstein is God. Let's get it correct. Sexy femboy.
Yes, sir. Anyway, I'm keeping an eye on the chat if anybody answered my question from earlier. So I put it out to the chat. Is it actually beneficial to you to go out as a flat Earth evangelist, telling people how wrong they are about how Earth is not a sphere, how their sphere belief is based on a foundation of flat Earth measurements, or whether or not keeping your mouth shut completely and not saying anything, or moreover, just telling them that Earth is measured flat and it's not that big a deal? Do any of those actually benefit you in the long term? When the wall itself, if the wall is analogous or comparable to the measurements of a ball, well, then the ball measurements, if they're a big wall that we're all trying to bash against as flat earthers to bring down, the foundations for the wall are flat anyway. So the lie can't carry on forever. The wall will come crumbling down, and the foundations that it were built on, solid that they are flat to begin with. So it doesn't necessarily make any difference, in my opinion. I'm answering the question on behalf of the audience already, that we go out and tell anybody anything. It doesn't serve us. You know, you're still going to have to measure Earth flat in all capacities. Just go and look south.
That's the necessary antecedent for all the Earth measurements. Flat.
Hey, on deck.
Hi, Nathan. Hi, guys. You all right?
Yeah, I'm not bad. Late for the trampoline in class my eldest daughter had today. I completely forgot it even happened. Happens every week. For whatever reason, I was sat up in bed at about, I don't know, 8:30, still doom scrolling through TikTok, going, yeah, this is quite nice. For whatever reason, I thought there was nothing on. Don't know why I've had such complete lapse of judgment. Yeah.
Sorry. Axiomatic saying that flat Earth, to me, seems like a subject that must be sought rather than preached.
Yeah, you just on acid or something. That was 20 minutes ago.
Oh,
It's a good job you don't have a TV, Nathan. You'd be wasting your time watching TV.
Why?
Oh, you said you were doom scrolling on your phone. That's the same as watching TV, isn't it?
Yeah, I compared it to watching TV. That's my equivalent of watching TV, doom scrolling on YouTube. That's how
Mikey,
occasionally
yeah,
see.
but you got people saying that receiving your understanding news through scrolling is even more compartmentalized because the algorithm feed you your biased needs. Really?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how they manage to get you doom scrolling. It's constantly giving you small chunks of little things that you want. You're like, yeah, I've seen it before. It's like there's billions of YouTube shorts. Why would it ever be the case that they deliver you the same one twice? Because they know that you've already watched it once. That's why. There's no other reason. It's not because they've got a limitation on shorts videos. But obviously, dealing with you and your feminism, Neil, isn't necessarily something that you're going to scroll across and stay on.
It's funny.
I didn't know this years ago, and I think I can't remember, I was on YouTube looking, I don't know what I was looking at. It might have been something to do with jewellery, I think. I don't know, a bracelet or something like that. Didn't think anything of it. And then a couple of days later, I'm on Instagram, and loads of things started popping up about this bracelet. I went to the missus, I said, this is weird. I said, you are not going to believe this. I've been looking at YouTube at something else and it's popping up on here. It's almost as if this thing can read my mind. It was freaking me out.
You know what? I had the same thing. I was thinking about this Lamborghini, talking about this Lamborghini. And then the next thing you know, I was just delivered all these adverts for Lamborghinis. Like I'm going to buy one. Amazing.
Yeah, well, I could top that. I had a thought, just a thought about a certain musical group. And the next thing that came up was that band. So how do you figure that out, buddy?
I was thinking about that scene in Total Recall where there's that woman with the 3 breasts. And then what do you know? This woman... She's at the mechanics. 3 breasts. Couldn't quite believe it.
Hold on. In chat, these people are dogging the Super Bowl telling me it's entertainment. Yes, it's entertainment. It's a football game.
I don't know if you know, Nathan, but there are a lot of videos on YouTube about flat Earth that people make, telling us that flat Earthers are wrong, that the Earth is a globe. Thought maybe one day we could watch a few of them and go through them.
What, just to like do something original that we hadn't done before, sort of thing?
Yeah, something completely new.
They're completely new. I mean, that is so original and inspiring. Now, I want to find more of the videos where we're saying they don't make any apologies. Yeah? So when somebody's being trained on Celestial Nav, we've done one. We've really only focused on the map guy. It's like, no, there's loads more. There'll be people out there that are talking about their RC planes. And they'll be talking about the elevations that they achieve and all flat Earth prerequisites that are, you know, necessitated in the conversation if you're going to describe accurately what you're doing with the toy plane. Yeah? In other words, there's going to be groups out there that we could essentially infiltrate and talk about what they talk about. They're like, you're quite knowledgeable about this. And you're like, yeah. How come? Wow, flat earther. What are they going to do? No, my altitude from surface level isn't actually from surface level. It's like, why are you bracing against me? We were friends 2 minutes ago. Softly, though, you've got to go in and find these forums, slowly make friends and influence people, for them to then get triggered about us being flat earthers, all for my amusement of my audience. You know what I'm talking about. But you're the ones egging this on. But if that's what you want, that's the effort it requires to infiltrate a group that essentially does what we do, but without having to justify or explain their actual cognitive dissonance when it comes to their belief. When Jin used to say, well, he still believes it's a ball though, doesn't he? You're like, yeah, okay, well, let's lean into that then. So if you're out there describing how high your RC plane is off surface level, then you're still in cognitive dissonance. You're just not overtly aware of it in that moment until someone like us comes along, and then suddenly we've triggered a room I mean, in past history, when we've looked at this in the geography forums, when that occurs at that moment, it's so painful for some of the people who have the power that they can just remove you from their presence. Like I was saying about why would you want to be around these scumbags that we have to contend with on the anti-flat earth side? It's like, why would you want to be around them? Wouldn't you want to just, if you could, exclude those people from your presence? Like, yeah, when we arrive in some random forum as fart-sniffing flat earthers, just waiting for that right moment where we're like, well, that's because I know Earth's measured flat. Like we have been for the last 3 days. We've all been talking about our heights, right? Did you now want to go to the hard place where you deny everything you know about your RC plane and how it functions? Just because you've got a belief you were taught in the science class? Why would you want to do that? You're not going to give up the aeroplanes. But all you've really done is ruin that person's day.
I thought it was quite interesting what you spoke about the other day. I did send you, I don't know if you can cover it really. It's not really, you might have already looked at it, I don't know. I'm late. What was the guy called? I think it was the same guy. You know, he was talking about the how your brain works, basically.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to find it, yeah.
I love a good chase.
I listened to it. Say again, mate.
I'm just agreeing. I'm nodding along when I should be shutting up. I was saying I love a good Chase Hughes video, but carry on.
Yeah, so I watched a little bit of it because I was the way you put it the other day or last week, and it's so true. He goes into it a little bit on. I found a little video clip on that which I sent you directly, but I don't know if it's something you could sort of. It's quite a. He does talk a lot in between the points where you wouldn't be able to really say anything, but it just if the lads wanted to listen to it. Yeah, something biologically, your brain operates in a certain way. And if your belief is challenged, your brain automatically goes into survival mode. And it has these reactions and it makes you behave in a certain way. It's the globe believers can't help it. It's not their fault. It's just the way people are designed. And this is what we're experiencing with them. This is why when you're constantly showing them horizontal and sea level, yes, that's the truth, altitude above sea level, but you're challenging their belief and they go into survival mode and they will lie, they will go into ad hominem attacks, and it's just a natural something in parts of your brain operate in different ways. So I did watch a little bit of that and it's so true. I'm really impressed with it.
Which video is it? Is it this Tom Belu one?
Yeah, but like I say, there was a. If you look down the tabs there, I think there's a section about 30 minutes where. But like I say, it could be a bit long-winded, Nathan, in some points where you can't really. It's not like a video where we'd keep stopping and responding, but he does. There's points within a 10-minute section where you could relate to what we're observing and dealing with.
Just tell me, and I'll play it. I don't mind playing a little bit. I can interject enough to hopefully get it justified as commentary. What is it? Is it the Tom? This is how you archive lasting change. Is that the one? Achieve, not archive. Is that the right video? If so, let me know what timestamp you want to go from, and I'll start playing from there. And if you realise you're on mute one deck.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I think it's about 31 minutes when identity is challenged. If it's not working out, just turn it off.
No, we'll give it a go. I'll also put a link to this in the audience live stream, so you can go and let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't hopefully immediately get removed by the videographer himself. Where's my share button? There it is. For whatever reason, it hasn't wanted to share it in the Hangout. Can you guys see it in the Hangout? Because the audience certainly can't.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yep.
There we go. Perfect. Right, so I'll stick this into the live stream chat if you did want to pop along to Tom and let him know. at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, as I say, with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed by Tom himself, or indeed by the YouTube algorithmic bots. So that's winging its way by in the live stream chat.
Plays a big role. It just doesn't feel good to have your beliefs challenged.
Let's put a pin in that. Why? Why?
There you go.
What is it about identity and belief?
Hey, Nathan. Well, you just said it right there, doesn't it? It doesn't feel good. And this is what we're seeing with the people who believe in the globe ball religion. When we tell them you don't live on a ball, there's no measurements for it, we're challenging their belief, and it doesn't feel good at all to them.
No, and I've said this throughout today's show, right? Why put it in that way? Why put it that they're wrong so that you can be right, when you can just tell them how right you are? If you understand how Earth is measured to create a ball, you can lean into their belief softly, rather than saying, you're just wrong. I'm here to challenge your beliefs and make you feel uncomfortable. If you say, well, Earth's measured with flat Earth prerequisite elevation angles to achieve the degree system that has an arc through the measurements you take from the flat Earth that you could infer to be the surface of a radius 3959 ball that you believe you're standing on. That's a way of mathematising the movements of the lights in the sky through very out-of-the-box thinking, now put in effect as though it's the actual ground we're standing on. But again, at no point have I said, you're wrong. In fact, quite the contrary. Saying how right the foundational flat Earth measurements are in order to even have that belief exist. Good.
Huh? What do you do? Operator. Operator? Yeah, just all gas and water come out the well. Like a leased operator, yeah. Pumper? Yep. Okay, that's what I do. Oh, okay.
Matt.
Who you work for, man? I work for Oxy. Okay. Matt. I'm with Matador. Matador. Or Island. I'm a contractor. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Beliefs and values that become.
Yeah,
sorry, Nathan.
That's right.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying there. But do you not think also by doing it softly, gently like that, and not actually going directly and saying you're about talking about beliefs, even by doing it softly, like you've just explained, do you think their belief is still being challenged by doing it anyway at all?
I'm saying it's not necessary to challenge their belief. If I explain how the structure of a belief is formed, so if it's ghosts, and I explain the fundamental base premise of, I don't know, life after death being the assumption required for there to be a ghost in existence, right? And then explain how we've perpetuated the idea of demons or something. I'm just thinking outside of the box to give a false comparison, which it is. The reality is, by pointing out how Earth must be measured to have what we used to say was wrong when back calculating it into a flat Earth. It's like, why not go the other way around? We measure a flat Earth to create the ball that you believe in. Then you're not telling them that they're wrong, you're telling them how their ball is created. And the measurements of Earth's surface are flat to create that ball. Now, those are facts. Facts that I don't have to necessarily be ridiculed with. As I was telling my mother, it's the antithesis of what you'd expect. You lean into how Earth is measured without any dispute or inconsistency, and it's in fact a requirement of them to have for their ball to believe in the first place. But that doesn't result in praise, it results in me being called a child abuser. Because it leaves them, it's like cornering them as an animal, right? They suddenly feel very threatened because they're in a corner where they can't do anything but concede how flat Earth is, when it's the antithesis of their ball faith. That's the only thing I can come up with in terms of an explanation for why we get the reaction we do from the caged animals that they appear to be when having Earth's flat measurements and the need for them pointed out to them.
But I agree. But I think even if we're coming across as not challenging anything, I think what the guy's saying is they will automatically feel challenged for some reason, even though you're not challenging anything. You're just pointing out a fact which goes against what they believe to be true. and you're pointing out that, well, this is incorrect because of this, and this is how it's met, that you just explained, I think they automatically will feel challenged, even though you're not going in a challenging way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, challenged as in internally, there's a conflict suddenly because cognitively they're holding or having to hold two different positions simultaneously. The ground is measured flat. It's how the mathematization of a ball begins. However, the ground is curving because of the ball that we just created with the flat earth measurements that we just needed to measure to create the ball with. That is an inconsistency that is painful to face. Well, the natural human reaction at that point is to externalize and project that pain onto perhaps the messenger. So that's what happens. I don't want to face this cognitive dissonance where I require a flat earth be measured to create a ball for me to believe that the flat earth that was measured isn't the measurement of the surface at all. That's an imaginary surface, because the ball we created with those flat measurements of the surface is the actual ground that we're standing on, and that's curved. It's like, no, you're going to go around in circles driving yourself bonkers. But if you just externalise it onto a third party, or the person that's told you this, better if they're telling you that you're wrong, because then you've got a feeling of justification when you let go your wrath upon that person.
On the other hand, Nathan, sorry to keep interrupting. Like what you've just been explaining, because how we're dealing with it now, it's not so much challenging. We're just saying, well, that's how it's measured, and we're very relaxed about it. Now, since that's been going on, I think there's been more of an observation of these people's descent into madness, rather than when we used to maybe go in with a challenging battle head. Since we've stepped back a little bit and just doing it gently and calmly, they seem to be reacting more dramatically.
Yeah, worse.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was trying to explain to my mother. I was saying, the better my argumentation, if you want to call it that, becomes, the more irrefutable my position becomes, the more abuse I face, the more I'm accused of crimes that I don't commit. That's what happens. It's weird, isn't it? You don't have to like how flat Earth must be measured to create a ball. You don't have to like that. But by not liking it, you don't also have to project it immediately onto me and make out like I'm some bad person that needs locking up and my kids taken away after my balls are cut off and I'm forced off a tall building to infer a notion of a mass attracting mass force. None of those things need to be in effect for you to understand and appreciate how flat Earth gets measured to create a ball with. Those are just facts. You don't have to like angle measurements from surface level. But that's what's used to create a ball. You don't have to like it. Just go and look on your ball. It's got latitude lines. That's what you've done. You've measured Earth flat to create that system. It's not my fault. They want to take it out of me, and fine. Make me a martyr if you want.
Yeah, there is no cognitive dissonance required. We all measure the Earth flat, friend.
Yeah, it's not that serious. I'm sure this pisses them off even more when I say it. It's not that big a deal. Either you accept that we measure Earth flat for you to create your little ball from the protractor angles that you measured Earth flat with, or you deny that you've got any measurements. In which case, well, what are you going to base your ball faith on? You've got to build your ball from something, and that something is flat Earth measurements, but it's not that big a deal. It's not like anybody's going to have to change anything they do. Flight level will still be parallel to the ground at the various different heights that you're ascribed to be at from ground control, parallel with one another, so you don't crash into each other. That will change. Mapping will still be describing Earth's surface with linear distance measurements that are flat. The horizontality of directionality will not change just because you found out that you were deceived in your science class. But the deception required measurements. It required flat Earth to produce the ball that you all believe in. But it's not that big a deal. It's not like we'll lose thousands of jobs as a consequence of you finding out. Who cares? You're a nobody. Doesn't matter if you know it's flat. Ed?
What was that? Horizontality or directionality? Can you repeat that one?
The horizontality of directionality won't change, regardless of you finding out Earth is flat, Neil. South will still be south. You can perceive that you finding out the Earth is flat will mean the whole of science will change. The dead will rise from their graves. Cats and dogs will live together. Total pandemonium. You can believe that, but that is like overindulgence, like you're somehow special. Like finding out means that there's going to be some vast change in the world. Nah. Flight level will still be flight level. Sea level will still be sea level. Altitudes will be still measured from a flat plane of reference. Altitude angles will still be the formation of all the mapping and modelling systems that we've ever produced ever. All of the territories will still be measured and charted flat. Nothing will change. Cats and dogs won't be living together. The graves won't suddenly open and the dead won't come to life. Nothing's going to change. Not thousands of jobs being lost. Not the world stopping and you feeling a gravitational force on a pizza pie ripping you apart. It's all bollocks. You knowing that Earth is flat, it doesn't matter. It's like here, it doesn't matter that I know. Me finding out what changed. Nothing. Few people that were, above their own station got quite angry about their belief being challenged and then took it out on me. That's about all that happened. Nothing else changed. Did any of the flights change? Nah. Did any of the maps change? Nah. Did any of the sailing techniques change? Nah. What about the GPS? Yeah, that was flat all along. Used a Cartesian system. So it didn't change? Nah. Nothing will change. But you believe, because you've been told, that there'll be uproar. No, there won't. There wasn't. I can testify. There wasn't any major concern. Finding out it was flat didn't matter. The pilots carried on exactly as they were anyway. Doesn't matter if you know. Who cares? Going to be doing a bit of book editing shortly, so there's not going to be an after show, I'm afraid. Oh, I've got swimming at 4:30 with the kids, so I'm going to do a bit of book editing after the live show and before she goes swimming. We've got about 5 minutes.
Oh dear, why do we bother?
Bother with what?
Turning up.
You have been so pessimistic the last couple of days. There's no fundies, there's no covering videos. You're like, moan, 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 moan. Some people are just never happy. You give them a golden bullet, it gets loaded into the machine gun, mows everybody down, and they're like, not happy. I wanted a slower burn than that. We just won.
Well, you got somebody in chat refuting you, saying bridge building requires Earth to be flat? ? Measurements made by who? ? The ground is measured flat by who? ? How do you know that?
Well, it's not a question, is it? In terms of leveling your tool, people level their tools to the plane of reference. The inference to the contrary is Earth curve. And Earth curve requires you measure Earth flat as well. So if you want to believe that there's some contradictory position, that is to say, what do you mean you measure Earth flat to build bridges? You're like, well, the contrapositive to that assertion is to say that we've got a curved surface that we need to take into account when we're building, right? That's the contrapositive position the person in the chat wants to take. Okay. But I already know from spending 10 years in this subject that the inference requires this. See this? This is surface level. This is where you get the contrapositive viewpoint that we can have a deviation from the horizontal needing accounting for in bridge making. So in order to infer that, you need to measure a surface level. So we've got a surface level then. So even their inferences that they suggest give a contrary viewpoint to measuring and building on Earth's flat surface needs a flat surface to try and attempt to defy the facts of Earth building processes. What, we've got a curved surface? No, your curved surface also requires a flat surface. Here it is. It's called surface level. What's that? That curves too? Well, then it won't be parallel with eye level when you infer an altitude from surface level. Every part of the inference to the contrapositive of building on Earth flat requires that you measure Earth flat also. So Nice try, Chatsgang. Your belief that we build on Earth anything other than flat also requires a flat Earth to believe that you've got a contrapositive position to have to put to me with. It's like, okay, so you're saying the ground that they build the bridges on curves? Where'd you get that curve from? Oh, from measuring Earth flat at surface level? No, you dingbat. But had you spent 10 years in this subject, you'd know how flat you require Earth to be to infer that you've got a deviation from the horizontal when building a bridge. You also need a flat Earth for your belief that seemingly contradicts the way we build on Earth. No, the tools get leveled. Leveling is a very simple principle in building anything.
Thank you, Neil.
Hour.
Are there any more comments you can read out?
Nathan, he did ask who measured flat. I think there was a guy in Greece called Eratosthenes who did it once.
Well, in this case, for the curve calculator, you could say maybe Mick West measured it. That's where this diagram comes from, the Metabunk Earth curve calculator, that fundamentally has a requirement for a surface level to infer how spherical you say will deviate from the surface level that we build upon. No, we build on surface level. It's not like I need to argue this. These are facts. You know, have you never built anything? Again, the idea that him arguing with me about how builders build on the surface level is inconsequential. You're not building anything. I'm not building anything either, though. So I can just laugh at you. But I do understand fundamentally how your suggestion that surveying and building requires you account for the deviation from the horizontal. Well, where do we get the horizontal deviation that you're inferring from? Oh, from a surface level that we measure. So even your belief requires that we'll have an Earth that's flat. Yeah, it will fundamentally require the surface level. Here it is on screen. It's labelled surface level. Okay? Hope we cleared that up. If not, write to www.idon'tcare.com. Any more for any more? Because I'm going to round out. Like I say, we're going to do a bit of...
Any more, Neil?
Any more for any more?
Are there any more in video format?
Nah, he jumped on somebody. 70% of the Earth is covered by water, and water level's flat, so he's jumped on that. Water takes shapes. Yeah, it takes the shape of its containment. What does that prove?
Water level, like the things that the builders use when they're leveling out surfaces to build on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very useful in building things. How flat Earth must be to do so. With that, I'm going to say maybe we'll have a little after show. I can't make up my mind. I don't think we will. I think I'll actually keep it off air, my editing process. But a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining us, a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.